Makeup time. What's up guys? Just getting ready to vlog outside today so that we can talk about all the skills that you need to become a textile designer. Woo! Where you going, Beanie? Where's it going, Beanie? So what's up, fool? Welcome back to my channel, the central hub for all the things pattern, textile design, and art related. I'm back in Highland Park and I am going to be sharing my slides with you, but I'm just going to be looking at them on my phone right here as we talk today. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the top 10 skills that you need in order to become a textile designer, and textile design is the most rewarding career for creatives in my humble opinion. All right, so let's jump in. Okay, so what skills do you need to become a textile designer? Number one is you definitely need research skills. When you are a textile designer, you definitely need to be able to research your competition, make sure you know like what their lineup is. You definitely need to do your market research and see what is missing in your own line and what makes sense for your customers. And number three, you need to be able to do trend research and make sure that the upcoming trends are making sense for the textiles that you are designing. On top of that, you need to be able to do awesome color research and make sure that your color palettes are on point for all of the textiles that you're designing. A lot of times customers and buyers respond to color before they even respond to the design. And the next thing is that you need to be able to do trade show research and make sure that your company is attending all of the right trade shows, getting the right information, and meeting with the right people. So skill number two is that you obviously need design skills. So you don't necessarily have to go to school to become a designer. I'm a big believer that you can learn a lot of this stuff online today, but you do need to understand things like how a good composition works, how a good layout looks, how to design a pattern. Obviously, like you need to know how to make repeats. Not all products need a repeat, but you still need to be able to know how to do it. So that's a skill that you definitely need, and you definitely need to understand how to design patterns and prints. So skill number three is that you definitely need to have software skills. Now, a lot of people ask, what software do you need to learn when you are becoming a textile designer? And really it will vary from company to company because there are so many different industries and products that different companies create. However, you definitely need to know Photoshop and Illustrator in order to become a textile designer. And if you are proficient in Illustrator and Photoshop, then those skills will translate very easily over to other programs such as Textile and Ned Graphics. So skill number four that we kind of already touched on a little bit is color skills. So you definitely need to understand the fundamentals of color. You need to understand the color wheel and what are primary colors, secondary colors, complementary colors, which colors create too much contrast, which colors need more contrast, what are all those types of things. You also need to be able to perform your color research really well and understand what are going to be the new colors coming out for the next season. You also need to understand how to create a color palette in a way that's going to give you enough options so that you have enough contrast between colors, but not too much contrast. You don't want your textiles to end up looking jumpy or too busy, but you also need to be able to actually see the colors when they are beside each other in your textiles. You also need to know how to recolor a pattern. So a lot of times, there will be best-selling patterns within the company that you're working for, but they just need to be refreshed. And so a great way to refresh bestsellers is to just recolor them and come out with a new color for the new season. So skill number 5 is going to be fibers skills, which means that you need to understand the difference between natural fibers and synthetic fibers and the pros and cons of each. Cotton, for example, is extremely absorbent, whereas wool is extremely durable and resists like crushing. Like if you have a wool rug, for example, and you have furniture on top of it, and like the little indents that you get from your furniture, well, a synthetic fiber will stay crushed, whereas a wool fiber will bounce back. Synthetic fibers, however, are great for a lot of things. For example, if you're creating outdoor products, you really need to have synthetics because natural fibers are obviously going to decompose. Skill number 6 is that you need to know your textile constructions or have textile construction skills. So you need to understand the fundamentals and the differences between woven products, tufted products, and loomed products. You also need to understand different techniques within the textile construction, such as flocking or embroidery, different types of embroidery. What's the difference between hand embroidery and machine embroidery? You also need to understand different printing skills, such as what is the difference between a screen print and a digital print. So skill number 7 is that you definitely need good communication skills, as in pretty much any job that you have. But it's definitely true for a textile designer because you are going to have a lot of your correspondence over email. You need to make sure that you are keeping track of all the emails that you're getting. You're going to have a lot of meetings. You need to obviously take meeting notes and keep track of everything that you are discussing in the meeting, because it can be a lot to remember. A lot of times you think you're going to remember, but you end up forgetting. You also have a lot of revision requests when you are reviewing your samples. So when you have designed a textile and it comes in as a sample, a lot of times the design team and your art director are going to review it, and then they will have different suggestions and requests for revisions. So in order to keep track of all of those revision notes, I really highly suggest either printing out your project so that you can make little notes beside each image, or taking photos with your phone as you're going through and taking notes on your phone with that photo, because otherwise it gets confusing and you can sometimes forget which sample you were talking about when you go back over your notes. So you also need great communication skills for trade shows and the customer feedback that you're getting specifically at those trade shows. So a lot of times textile designers will be expected to explain their products, so you have to have good communication skills to be able to present the textiles that you designed to buyers and to your customers. So you also want to not only be able to present to your customers and explain why this is a new exciting construction or what the design inspiration was behind it, but you also want to be able to keep track of the notes and the feedback that you're getting from customers. So directly after a meeting, I would jot down everything that you can remember, if not during the meeting, while you're meeting with that buyer or customer. Really depends on how much time they have and how kind of rushed they are. Sometimes you might just have to rush through everything and then go make notes right after your meeting. So skill number 8 is that you do need project management skills and good project management skills. And sometimes a lot of textile companies can be a little bit behind the times when it comes to the software that they're using, but I do really recommend Asana or Airtable to keep track of all of your projects. That way you can really keep track of your project timelines, kind of when things are expected to be due in terms of, maybe your first round of designs, and then your revisions, when are your revisions going to be due, and then when are your samples going to be due, and then trying to also keep in touch with your factory for when you expect to get those samples in. What is the ETA? Is it going to be sea shipped or air shipped? Does it need to make it there on time for a trade show? If not, which trade show are you planning in advance, or do you need to really air ship it and rush it to get to the trade show on time. So you want to be able to keep track of all of these details, and when you have multiple projects going on, it can be a lot to keep track of. So I do really recommend a software such as Asana or Airtable. You also have to be able to be sort of the coordinator for a lot of your samples. Now, some companies will have a separate person for this. However, a lot of times the responsibility does fall on the designer to make sure that your samples and the designs that you worked on are showing up at the trade show or on time in the warehouse to be reviewed. So you definitely want to make sure that you're following up with the factory, getting tracking numbers, making sure that it has actually shipped. Don't just trust that they did it. You want to definitely get confirmation on all of those things. And you also need to be able to have great project management skills when you are setting up a trade show or you're setting up the showroom and you are responsible for a display, for example. So you definitely need to be super organized when you are creating a display. You need to think ahead of time about ordering samples that you want to show in the display, how it's going to all look together, and you sort of this sort of leads us into our number 9 tip, which is merchandising skills. So when you are setting up for a display at a trade show, then you do need those merchandising skills. So if you have any background experience in retail, that's going to be very beneficial for you. I never had that, but that is something that people really love to see in a textile designer, because they know that they can kind of set up a space and kind of do it in an innovative and creative way that's going to draw attention from all of the trade show traffic into the showroom or booth. So skill number 10 is you do need to be able to work with art licensors. Not every company will have this, but a lot of the bigger wholesale companies will work with art licensors, which means that they're working with a big name designer, but they will rely on you for support. So you need to, your responsibilities would include modifying other designers' artwork or the licensors' artwork. So they will have a kind of a bank of designs that they will want to put onto the textile products that you are designing. So you need to work with that designer to make sure that you are keeping their end vision, but you obviously know the product a lot better than they do. So, the colors might need to be tweaked a little bit. For example, when I worked in rugs and I worked with different licensors such as Mike Farrell, Country Living, and Candace Olson, sometimes I would see their Pantone colors, but depending on what our wool colors were, they may need to be tweaked a little bit to make sure that it turned out really nicely in a rug. You also need to understand the construction and the details. So that's where my job would come in, when I would say, okay, maybe we need some carving around some of these motifs within the rug. So maybe we need to add some viscose. Maybe we need to mix the fibers here or twist the fibers here. That's where your example or your expertise as the textile designer comes into play when you're working with art licensors. You also need to be able to communicate really well with them so that they feel like they are getting a say and getting final approval over their designs. And you want to also work with them on a market setup. So if there's a nice display for the art licensors, then you are going to be responsible, if it's someone that you're working with, to make sure that their display is set up nicely, that it represents all of their marketing and all of that. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was super helpful for you guys. Make sure to join the Design Tribe Facebook group to join me on live video if you have not already joined, and make sure to look down in the description for all of my links and the free 2020 trend guide. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.